Islam is very creative and it's very flexible. It's one of the most resilient systems, especially when it comes to economics and wealth.
Sheikh Isam, in recent years, cryptocurrency has become very popular. Currency like Bitcoin, many people are investing in this. Is this Sharia compliant, Sheikh Isam?
What we see is that people just go and take a position on it just to sell it when it rises, as if to get rid of it, let the other buying party, bear the risk and the loss of it.
To speculate.
Yeah. ESG indices are, if anything,
Islamic indices.
Core Islamic indices.
Yeah.
People also have the confusion or the misunderstanding that if an institution is Islamic, whether it's an Islamic bank or an Islamic school or an Islamic hospital, it must be based on charity.
Okay.
Right?
Not to make profit.
You cannot make profit on it.
Yeah.
This is saying that this is a profit-making institution, but is abiding by the rules of Islam.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the third episode of Arcapita Perspectives, where we explore key topics in finance and investment. Today, we delve into the world of Islamic finance with a focus on Sharia-compliant alternative investments. I'll be your host for this episode, and I'm honored to be joined by Sheikh Isam Ishaq, a distinguished Sharia scholar. He's a member of the Shari'ah Board of the Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institutions, AAOIFI. He's also a member of the Shari'ah Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs in Bahrain, and he's chairman and member of several Shari'ah Supervisory Boards of Islamic banks and financial institutions, including Arcapita. It's a pleasure to have you with us today, Sheikh Isam. Let's delve into the topic.
Thank you very much, Brother Mohammed. My pleasure is reciprocated. Always happy to be with you.
Just obviously, Arcapita is an alternative investment firm. You also advise retail banks. What are the differences between advising retail banks versus advising alternative investment firms like us?
Okay, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah. It would be surprising to many, I think, if we say that when the concept of Islamic banking was first proposed, it was actually conceived to be for investment banking.
Okay.
Yes. Because as you know, in retail banking, almost the full focus of retail banking is providing finance lines. In the traditional world, conventional world, we're talking about lines of credit and debit, credits and debts.
Yes.
For the customers. And this is an area where Islamic finance can, of course, provide its own solutions or maneuver in the area. But ideally, Islamic finance is about investment finance, because it's about the creation of wealth in society. The concept of wealth and finance are very much intricated, and whether we're talking about Islam or any other ideologies or system. And Islam, creation of wealth is actually something which is very much focused on.
Okay.
Eradication of poverty is another thing which is focused on, because they go together. If you create wealth and at the same time poverty is being increased, so there's a polarization between the wealthy and the poor, it doesn't serve the purpose. And we all know, of course, that our blessed Prophet ﷺ used to seek refuge in Allah from poverty.
Yes. Yeah.
And we also know, of course, about the institution of zakat, which is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, which requires that you give a portion of your wealth rather than your revenue or income on a yearly basis. So you have to give, as a rough rule of thumb, 2.5% of your wealth every year.
People sometimes get confused between wealth and income.
Yeah. So in investment banking, of course, you were talking about industrial activities. You're talking about ventures which have a larger number of people on board, a larger employment opportunity for the community. So, as a rule, investment banking would be something which is preferable. Challenges are that although this was the original concept, and actually it's the ideal concept when we come to Islamic finance. But Islamic finance, Islamic banking, let's say, developed as retail banking. It was quite a few years when we came on board with investment banking. Alhamdulillah, I think you have seen that Islam is very creative and it's very flexible, and it can very easily adapt to the different difficulties or challenges that it faces. In all situations, it's one of the most resilient systems, especially when it comes to economics and wealth.
Thank you for that, Sheikh Isam. Obviously, like retail banks, they're providing maybe more standardized, simple products like Murabaha or Ijara, and they're very standardized contracts. I assume for alternative investment firms, each transaction is different and it's more complex and it's maybe more challenging, and you have to be more involved compared to a retail bank. Is that a fair description?
Yeah, I think that's very accurate, and you've hit the nail on the head. And you see, of course, that the interactions we have, the intense interactions we have between the Shari'ah boards and the business teams when different projects are proposed, and the way that both sides have to navigate the no-go and the permissible areas of how to achieve. In the end, you're talking about providing finance in order to be able to adapt some project, and you must do it in a Sharia-compliant way. Yani so far, I think we haven't really reached. Not even to be honest and sincere, we haven't really reached anywhere near what is ideal. Right? But not being ideal and not being altogether permissible is something two different areas. We still have challenges regarding how to navigate the Sharia concerns when we talk about SPVs. And very often when you're talking about huge projects, you have conventional banks involved through SPVs. And these are very intricate areas that are tackled on a case-by-case basis.
It's an interesting topic. We always discuss what substance and form. Sometimes you just try to comply with the Sharia rulings by ticking the boxes in terms of the structure, where the substance might look very different. So maybe make some comments about substance and form when you're looking at advising alternative investment firms.
Definitely, substance takes precedence over form. This is by agreement, by consensus, by unanimity of all. When we talk about substance, we're talking about the arrangement, the transaction, the contract in and of itself being Islamic, being Islamically considered proper. Of course, there are border areas which also scholars might have various varying viewpoints regarding it being permissible in this case, not being permissible in this case. But this does not mean that form can be neglected. To give you a very simple, basic example. If a person, for example, an individual goes to a grocery store that he or she usually deals with, and they're buying something, and when they have taken whatever they've needed, he's short of cash to pay off. So he tells the owner of the grocery place or the person working there, here, take my watch. All right?
As a security or...
Now, see, this is where we have to differentiate between substance and form. So he says, take my watch. I will go and I will come back.
Bring the remaining amount.
I will bring the remaining amount. So now what does take my watch mean? It could mean keep it as security. All right? It could mean, this is...
Take the value.
Take the value of it, right? Now, I am short, I'm in deficit of, let's say, 100 dinars, and my watch is worth, we can argue, is it worth 100 dinars or 80 dinars or 120 dinars? So But the thing is, I didn't say exactly what I want.
You didn't specify
I didn't
your
specify.
intention. Yeah.
Yes. So here, if there's a dispute, the arbitrator, whether it's from the judicial system or someone else, they will have to first of all make sure what were the words that were used.
Okay.
You know, and this is when we're talking about form.
Okay.
The words have a direct impact.
Form is also important.
Very important. Yes, very important. And in some schools, especially when we're talking about contracts of commutative transactions, but also in marriage and divorce.
Yes. Yeah.
Form is very important because it can only take place by using specific words.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah. I got two of my children married, and the imam was insisting that I say things in a specific way.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to interest, Sheikh Isam, I think going back to the previous discussion, that people are not aware of the Sharia relating to transactions, to muamalat. Maybe some instructions to ordinary Muslims again about the dangers and the seriousness of taking or paying interest, and why we should avoid it at all costs.
Okay, Islamic finance, as Islam as a whole, in all areas and aspects of Islam, is very much ethical.
Okay.
In its outlook, and in its in its injunctions. It's based on, in essence, it's based on justice and kindness.
Okay.
Right, and this is based on the verse in Surah Al-Nahl, verse in the 16th Surah of the Quran. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsani wa ita'i dhil qurba, till the end of the verse. So Allah commands, or most certainly it is Allah who commands justice and kindness.
Okay.
Until the other commandments that are in this verse. So even in seeking justice, we must be kind.
Okay.
Islam says that most difficulties, disputes, conflicts in this world arise out of transgressions regarding possessions.
Okay.
Right? And therefore it has very
clear rules.
Clear rules, and it has clarified these rules. They're very simple, but they're not simplistic.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And it has given us a number of controls in order to avoid legal stratagems around these rules.
Okay, not to get around.
Not to get around. Although you can do it outwardly as if you're fulfilling the rules, but in substance you're not. Yeah. So it's given us very clear controls in order to avoid it. Everything, all religions, all isms, of course, forbid cheating, forbid exploitation, and whatever comes, different types of these. So we're not talking about these areas. These are forbidden by everyone, by human nature. This is wrong.
Fully understood.
It's fully understood. What is emphasized in Islam, and it's actually also it exists in earlier religions and even philosophies. The prohibition of interest, which used to be called usury.
Yes.
Two areas that we have to avoid at all costs are riba, which is interest or usury, and gharar. Riba, we have also two types of riba. We have riba resulting from debts.
Yes.
Whether the debt having come from a loan or from a commutative transaction, such as you might buy something on a deferred payment basis. Yeah. So that's a debt.
Yeah.
Or I might borrow something from you. That's a loan.
Yeah.
So if a debt, any debt, increases over time, that is riba.
Okay.
Right? So that is very clear.
Okay.
And it's a very simple instruction.
Okay.
Once a debt has realized, that debt cannot increase over time.
The principle has to stay the same.
Yes.
Maybe let's move on to venture capital investments, where the method that's usually using preferred shares.
Yes.
What are the issues with preferred shares, Sheikh Isam?
The main issue with preferred shares is that you're talking about guaranteeing for some of the partners, which are the preferred shareholders, you're guaranteeing their principal, or even a portion of the principal.
Okay.
And the Islamic ruling, and this is by consensus, and this shows that how our earlier scholars, when they gave their rulings, they understood, they were very much in the market.
Okay. They understood the real economy.
They understood
and financial transactions.
They were very much involved in the real economy. And in fact, we have a very famous saying of our second Khalifa, Umar radiallahu anhu. He said that no one should enter a marketplace and being engaged, not as a client or a customer. No one should be in a marketplace unless he is a faqih.
Okay.
Yeah, and he means, of course, fully understanding the rules of buying and selling.
Yes.
So you shouldn't enter the marketplace if you don't know the rules of buying and selling.
Because unintentionally you might get into usurious transactions.
Exactly. The question was
venture capital investments and preferred stock.
Yeah, regarding preferred stock. So in preferred stock, the area of concern is that effectively it is guaranteeing for the preferred shareholder, guaranteeing his principal, or even a part of his principal. And Sharia tells us that if you guarantee anyone's principal, if it's in a loan, the guarantee, it has to be guaranteed. Automatically guaranteed. But if it's in a commutative transaction, the effect of the guarantee is that portion which is guaranteed
is like a loan.
Acts like a loan.
Yeah.
So as a result of that being in a commutative transaction, whatever they have gained over it, earned over it, becomes riba.
Okay.
And that's why when two or more parties set up a partnership or venture partnership, they may agree at the outset that the distribution of the profit, that is the realized profit,
yes,
may not reflect their capital provision.
Yeah. Sheikh Isam, some people are very skeptical about Islamic finance. They think that we're just labeling something just to make it Islamic, and in substance it's not really Islamic. They're very suspicious. How would you respond to those people?
Yeah, first of all, we have to actually realize that these people actually of two categories. The majority of them are really have this misunderstanding.
Okay.
They are unaware, so they cannot see the real difference. And there are people who have some agenda,
some complex,
some agenda in order to promote, because in essence they are, not sympathetic to Islamic finance. Yeah. So we can say, first of all, that we understand the confusion that people have, because very often they do look alike, but in substance they are different.
Okay.
One might give the example of halal meat and non-halal meat.
Okay.
So you have a steak taken from a cow which has been killed in the non-permissible manner.
Yes.
And it's put on a plate in front of you.
Yeah.
Another cow which has been slaughtered properly Islamically, and that is put on a plate, and they're taken from the same part of the cow.
Yes.
You will not tell the difference. Yeah. Maybe if you test them in the lab, you'll see the blood content here greater, higher. No, but even taste-wise, you can hardly tell the difference, and they look alike and they smell alike. Yes. So they say, "What's the difference?"
No,
this is steak and this is steak. But the issue is that manner of slaughtering changed the ruling from permissible to impermissible.
Yes.
So similarly, as we had, I think we had mentioned earlier that this was sort of a doubt raised by the enemies of the Prophet.
Okay.
By saying, "Innama al-bay'u mithlu riba."
Yeah.
Why are you guys confusing people? Riba is the same as deferred sales.
Yes.
Whereas, no, Allah says deferred sales are permissible.
Yeah.
Whereas riba is impermissible, because that is not a debt which has increased over time.
Yes.
That is a debt which has arisen from a sale, and that debt does not increase in value.
Yes.
So, yes, a person, for example, a person who might want to purchase a car, let's say, from an Islamic bank. The Islamic bank is not lending that person money. The Islamic bank is actually purchasing the car.
Okay.
And then selling it for a markup, for a profit.
Yeah.
People also have the confusion or the misunderstanding that if an institution is Islamic, whether it's an Islamic bank or an Islamic school or an Islamic hospital, it must be based on charity.
Okay.
Right?
Not to make profit.
You cannot make profit on it.
Yeah.
Which is not there. This is saying that this is a profit-making institution, but it's abiding by the rules of Islam.
Okay.
In its profit generation, in its revenue generation.
Yeah. Sheikh Isam, in recent years, cryptocurrency has become very popular. Currency like Bitcoin, many people are investing in this. Is this Sharia compliant, Sheikh Isam?
This is something very new, as we all know. And cryptocurrencies have appeared in less than 20 years or so, right? And the most famous of these is the Bitcoin. But in fact, we have thousands, literally thousands of cryptocurrencies who have made their appearances and suddenly disappeared.
Some of them have disappeared.
Yeah, many actually have disappeared. The thing is that a currency, as a basic rule of thumb, that cannot be compromised Islamically or Sharia-wise, is something that people must readily recognize as being, I don't know if the word is neutral.
As a means of exchange.
Yeah, as a
currency.
As an objective store value.
Okay.
Which helps in exchanging goods and services and products. Cryptocurrencies, in spite of making whatever advances they've made quite a lot of advances, and even countries adopted cryptocurrencies. Huge companies did.
Yes.
But in the end, they exited. They saw that it's not that practical. The thing is that until people accept as a whole, not individuals, not investors,
not small groups,
but populations as a whole, until they recognize cryptocurrencies as acceptable means of exchange, as being stores of value for goods and services, they will just not take root, right? Coming to the question of if they are Sharia compliant, permissible Sharia-wise or not, this might open the Pandora box of questions regarding fiat money as well. I mean, especially since 1971, when fiat money is no longer covered by gold.
Yes.
So what does it really represent? So that is actually Sharia-wise problematic. Okay. It is. Okay. But what gives us comfort in it is that wherever fiat money is used, they are universally recognized
and accepted by
the individuals, by the companies, by the banks,
by the authorities, the government, etc.
as being objective, neutral stores of value.
Okay.
And this is not the case in cryptocurrencies. What we see is that people just go and take a position on it just to sell it when it rises, as if to get rid of it, let the other buying party, bear the risk and the loss of it.
To speculate.
Yeah. Which is very much in a clear-cut case of major gharar, which is the other area of no-go area in Sharia finance, Sharia rules regarding wealth creation and wealth generation. I think we discussed earlier, we have two main areas of no-go in Sharia, riba and gharar.
Okay.
And this is very much a gharar issue. It can easily be argued that's also a riba issue.
Okay.
But we don't want to go into that area now. But what is absolutely clear, it's very much a gharar issue, because people, when they go into it, they make money by it. They only make money by the other party losing.
Yes.
And it's a classic case of gharar.
So I think, to summarize, Sheikh Isam, you'd advise Muslims to hold off investing in cryptocurrencies for the moment until it becomes accepted like a dollar or a pound or a dinar, one of the established currencies.
Definitely.
Sheikh Isam, thank you for clarifying that. And this is clearly the type of role that you're playing as Shari'ah Supervisory Board members. As you know, green investing or ESG investing or ethical investing, it's the talk of the town. It's very popular all over the world. I think it's a very natural fit with Islamic finance. Just like to hear your comments on that.
Yes, one would have in the not even the ideal situation, in the ordinary Islamic situation, one would expect that Islamic banks or Islamic institutions, are the old schools or banks or even hospitals, would have been at the forefront of calling others
to investing in
to invest and to take into consideration these issues when making an investment.
Yeah.
Right? Because Islam is very much for the protection of the environment, for the protection of society. When we are talking about, it's about wealth increase while eradicating poverty.
Yes.
And it's a very wholesome principle. It's a very wholesome project. And we have this in the teachings of the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. The Quran says, ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس ليذيقهم بعض الذي عملوا لعلهم يرجعون. Now it says fasad, which is usually translated as corruption, but we'll come back to it. The Quran says this corruption has appeared in the land and in the sea.
In the sea, yeah.
Due to the actions of people, due to what they have earned and incurred. And this is so that they may reflect on themselves, so that they may reform.
Yes, they may correct themselves.
They may correct, lest they face the consequences in the next life.
Yeah.
Now, the term fasad is very often misunderstood, even by many Muslims, even by Arab-speaking Muslims, to refer to moral corruption or ethical corruption.
Okay.
And of course, moral corruption, ethical corruption,
or personal,
misbehavior and the like. But in essence, the word fasad in the Quran, and foremostly and primarily, it refers to corruption in the land.
Okay.
The spread of disease.
Okay.
Anything which harms harvest.
Okay.
Of crops. Anything which harms the sea and therefore affects negatively your catch
on the sea life,
on the sea life, etc. And that's why it emphasizes. It says corruption has appeared in the land and the sea, referring to different types of diseases, referring to fall in harvests and the like. So and that's why Islam has set also given us very important cues. For example, people may not relieve themselves under the shades of trees.
Okay.
People may not relieve themselves on riverbanks.
Okay.
Or close to wells, water wells.
Yes. It can contaminate the water.
It can contaminate the water and it will hurt people.
Yeah.
And you are harming people. And we have specific, explicit prohibitions in this. So, ESG indices are, if anything,
Islamic indices.
Core Islamic indices.
Yeah.
But we still actually have to develop some sort of mechanism to have these as measures when opining on various projects that the institution is contemplating investing in. This still has not been developed as much as we would like.
No, thank you for that guidance. We as practitioners, we should take that on board. So, Sheikh Isam, it's been an enlightening few minutes talking to you. I think the people listening to this podcast will enjoy and will have a greater understanding of Sharia as it relates to finance and investments. And we hope that this industry continues to grow. And we need actually more scholars like yourselves. And maybe one of the things we did not discuss in too much detail is we need more younger and more people to come into this industry to become Sharia scholars for the future. So we thank you for joining us. Jazakallah khairan. And thank you very much for this conversation.
And thank you, brother, for giving me this opportunity. Always happy and glad to be participating in such activities.
Assalamu alaikum.